There's this quote that really gets it right. It says, "The history of Iran isn't just long, it's elemental." And that's so true. It doesn't really start with kings or borders, it starts with fire and stone, in a land where civilization itself first took some of its deepest roots. So that's what we're going to do. We're going to take a journey through this incredible history to understand a civilization that's really defined by one powerful idea: resilience. All right, let's dive in. Okay, first things first, you've got to get a feel for the land itself. Iran is dominated by these huge mountain ranges, like the Zagros, and these incredibly harsh central deserts. This geography has always been a kind of double-edged sword. It protected the people from invaders, sure, but it also made life a constant challenge. This is a land that forged a tough, resourceful people right from the very beginning. And it's from this very landscape, this tough, dramatic place, that some of humanity's first great empires burst onto the scene, creating, really, a blueprint for what it meant to rule the world. I mean, just look at this. What you're seeing here isn't just a list of dates. This is over 1,000 years of continuous world-shaping empires long before many other civilizations even got started. From the Medes, who were the first to unite the tribes, all the way to the incredibly powerful Sasanians. Persian rule was just a constant on the world stage. So let's talk about the first big one, the Achaemenid Empire. What's so amazing is that it wasn't just built on brute force. No, it was built on ideas. Ideas that were honestly revolutionary for their time. Cyrus the Great championed religious tolerance, famously letting the exiled Jews return home to Jerusalem. His successors built the Royal Road, basically a superhighway for its time, and they came up with this brilliant system of provincial governors, called satraps, to manage a huge multicultural realm. And this imperial legacy, it really hit its peak with the Sasanians. I mean, for 400 years, these guys were the other superpower, the great rival to Rome and later Byzantium. It was a period of just immense cultural achievement, a true golden age. But it was about to face its greatest test yet. And that right there brings us to the absolute core of our story. It's a huge question. How does a civilization face total, complete conquest and not just survive, but actually end up transforming its conquerors? Well, in the year 651 AD, the unimaginable happens. The mighty Sasanian Empire falls. Just like that. The Arab conquest sweeps through, and over 1,000 years of continuous Persian imperial rule comes to a sudden, dramatic end. A new religion, Islam, and a new language, Arabic, arrive with force. But here's where we get to that incredible paradox, that unique resilience of Iran. The invaders might have won the battle, right? But you could say Persian culture won the war. The Arabs, they ended up adopting Persian systems of administration just to run their new empire. Later on, Turkic invaders, and even the fearsome Mongols, they became totally captivated by Persian language, art, and culture. They came to conquer, but they stayed, and in many ways became Persianized. And the language, the Persian language itself, became this powerful symbol of survival. Think about this. Around the year 1010, this epic poem called the Shahnameh, or Book of Kings, gets written. By telling the mythic history of Iran in pure Persian, it basically acted as a cultural shield, preserving the language and the identity for 1,000 years to come. It was a huge deal. Okay, so after centuries of being kind of fragmented, a new dynasty is going to rise up and pull Iran back together. But this time, they do something that forges the unique religious identity the country holds to this very day. So, in 1501, the Safavid dynasty makes this absolutely monumental decision. They declare a specific branch of Shia Islam called 12-verse Shiism as the official state religion. Now, this single act created a profound religious difference between Iran and its powerful Sunni neighbors, especially the Ottoman Empire. And that division, it continues to shape the geopolitics of the Middle East even today. And under these guys, the Safavids, Persian culture just explodes into another golden age. Shah Abbas the Great moves the capital to Isfahan, and oh man, he turns it into one of the most magnificent cities on the planet. Its grand square, stunning mosques, and bustling markets were the heart of a global trade network, and they were producing these artistic masterpieces, especially those world-famous Persian carpets. But you know how these things go. As the Safavid dynasty started to weaken, a totally new kind of threat appeared on the horizon. This time, it wasn't nomadic horsemen from the east. It was the organized, industrial empires of Europe. And this really sets up a critical question, doesn't it? I mean, how did an empire that had absorbed Greeks, Arabs, and even Mongols, how would it handle this new methodical pressure from modern European powers? Well, what happened was that Persia got caught, literally squeezed, in what was called the Great Game between Russia and Britain. You had Russia pushing down from the north with its military, just seizing huge territories. And then you had Britain exerting control from the south, but with economic power, getting these deals for key resources like tobacco and oil. So for the first time, Iran was losing its sovereignty without even a full-scale invasion. So you've got this pressure cooker of foreign meddling and internal weakness, and eventually it just had to explode. And it did. It kicked off a century of revolution, autocracy, and just massive upheaval. So, in 1925, an army officer named Reza Khan takes power, and he starts the Pahlavi dynasty. Now, both he and his son, Mohammad Reza Shah, they had this vision of pushing Iran into the modern world. And fast. They built railways, universities, a modern army, the whole shebang. But their reforms, like banning the veil, and their reliance on the brutal Savak secret police created this deep, deep rift with the country's powerful clergy and a lot of traditional society. All this discontent, it just simmered under the surface for decades. You had the 1953 coup, which was backed by the CIA, that got rid of a really popular prime minister, that created a lot of mistrust of the West. Then in the 60s, the Shah's White Revolution really angered religious leaders, especially a guy named Ayatollah Khomeini, who was eventually exiled for his opposition. By 1978, all that anger just boiled over. Mass protests erupted and brought the entire country to a standstill. And then the end came, and it came fast. In January 1979, the Shah gets on a plane and flees. Just a few weeks later, Ayatollah Khomeini returns from exile to this massive hero's welcome. And just like that, the 2,500-year-old Persian monarchy, gone. In its place, the Islamic Republic of Iran is born. And that revolution, well, it ushered in the Iran that we know today, a nation that is really defined by this deep, ongoing struggle between its revolutionary ideals and all the pressures of the modern world. I mean, the 4 decades since have been anything but easy. The new state was immediately forged in the fire of a devastating 8-year war with Iraq. It was hardened by decades of being isolated internationally after the U.S. hostage crisis, not to mention crippling economic sanctions. Yet, inside Iran, society remains incredibly resilient. You've seen these massive youth-led movements rise up again and again, demanding social freedom and political change. It's this constant, powerful tension between the government and its people. And all of this leaves us with the central, fascinating question for today's Iran. On one hand, you have one of the world's oldest, most continuous civilizations. But on the other, you have one of its youngest populations, a generation that's educated, tech-savvy, and plugged into the rest of the world. That tension, right there, between this ancient heritage and this modern future, well, that's what's going to define Iran's next unwritten chapter.